This Fleet Equipment Unscripted interview is presented by Hendrickson, a leading manufacturer of heavy-duty suspension systems and components to the global commercial transportation industry. Visit hendrickson-intl.com to learn more.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jason Morgan, Content Director for Fleet Equipment, and welcome to Fleet Equipment Unscripted. Today, we're talking with Peter Mitchell, Senior Vice President and General Manager of Verizon Connect. Peter, it's great to talk with you again.
And great to be back talking with you. As we were just saying there, it seems like it was ages ago. It wasn't. It was only 4 months ago.
I know. And I joked at the time that I've aged 10 years since then, and I still stand by that statement. This has been a crazy year. Which I wanted to touch base with you on real quickly on some of the blocking and tackling of technology in the truck and commercial space right now. I know we talked with Kevin Aries over there throughout the year about the upgrade to 4G LTE technology with fleets and devices. How has that gone from your seat? How has that upgrade been going, and what can fleets expect in terms of the 3G sunset of the networks going forward, and how it might impact them if they haven't upgraded?
Sure. So it's one of those kind of once in a generation in terms of hardware projects that we have to go through. The 3G network, just to cover that up first, AT&T are right now, they're closing down in February of next year. Verizon is later on in 2023. We have been focusing on, as most people are this year, on trying to ensure continuity of service for our customers. So we've had plenty of promos, and we've had a really, really great response from our customer base. And at this point, we're kind of where we had hoped to be, and maybe slightly ahead in that project. Great response from customers, as I said. And in doing so, we found that as we're talking to them, they've come and upgraded not just the 3G to 4G connected vehicle unit, but also added in things like our intelligent and integrated dash cam as well, which is really, really great to see. And of course, it's one of the real benefits of having been so close to our colleagues on the network in Verizon is that we can ensure that they get a really, really great service as they move onto that lovely 4G network that's best in class in the US.
Right, for sure. And I mean, and it's not just a device upgrade. To your point, there are a lot of benefits of it. 4G LTE does enable video. You get more, let's say, more accurate tracking, more real-time, closer to real-time tracking rather than pings coming every so often. You're seeing it more regularly and often. So a host of benefits that come along with that.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it's obviously a much more modern network, and coverage is better, signal strength is better. So yeah, you see an improvement. It's not just a badge from 3G to 4G. You certainly see an improvement in service as you upgrade to 4G.
Right. Very cool. When we talked last here this past summer, asset tracking was a big topic. You had put out the asset tracker. We talked about the role of tracking assets, whether it be trailers or even if you're in construction equipment, and getting a holistic view of your commercial operation. How has that adoption gone? Do you have any interesting use cases now that it's been out in the market and people are putting it to use?
Yeah, for sure. We've it's going great. We are seeing a massive uptick in interest in asset tracking, and some of that is our solution has really greatly evolved. I think as an industry, we were probably all guilty of having asset tracking as kind of like a dumb vehicle that just didn't happen to go down freeways and stuff like that. But actually, you need a much better user interface, one that's much more relevant to assets, because people are trying to maximize the utilization of the assets that they need to get their work done. And as you know, there's a global supply chain issue out there. A lot of the vehicle manufacturers are backlogged into next year with orders for both trucks and trailers. And so we see customers really wanting to elongate the lifespan of assets they have. And what better way to do that than have our solution in there, which helps them to do that. And so the numbers really prove that out. We have a lot more interest. We see it in big fleets. We see it in small fleets. And so just to give you an example, we had a customer in Kentucky called Diamond Landscapes, and they they managed to recover $500,000 worth of assets because they had our system in place. And you can imagine trying to replace those at the best of times and going through all the insurance claims and everything is tough. Even tougher when, even if you got through those insurance claims, you now have a supply chain issue and trying to get new trailers, etc., in place. So yeah, it's a real area of growth for us.
Right, right. And now that you mention it, I remember that headline coming through. I'll post that story here in this one too because it is a cool story. And just to piggyback that off that a little bit, even in the past year and through 2020, we saw a large spike in trailer theft and load theft as well. So even on the heavy duty trailer side, I mean, being able to recover, if not the load, then your equipment is huge for sure.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. This is the worst time to lose a trailer, and it's never a good time, but it's the worst time to lose one now because it's very difficult to get one, and it makes them a much more attractive target for thieves, as we can see.
Right, for sure. Okay, so we've touched on a few technologies here. We've seen, you mentioned video earlier, which still has a really good tailwind with fleets as that's going into adoption. Going into this new year, we're looking at 2022, which is a weird year to say. I still feel like that's decades in the future, but it's happening. What's on your radar? What are you expecting in terms of data-driven solutions that are going to trend this year, and what do you think is going to be big in 22?
Sure. So we see a lot of things happening. Some of those things were natural evolution, but of course, there's been a pandemic, and the effects of that will roll through, and that has affected some behaviors. So one of the big things one of the things that's really been accelerated is electric vehicle. And then when you consider the things that go with electric vehicles, initially, of course, the thing people worry about is range anxiety, but those who are looking for electric vehicles now have kind of got over that. We see it in government agencies, we see it in large customers, we see it in certain geographic regions a little bit more concentrated. But you think of what comes with that. First of all, the early adopters of electric vehicles, particularly in the commercial space, want their customers to know that they have made that investment in electric vehicles. So they want to be able to get that information out and translate it into things like, hey, this journey was the equivalent of planting a tree, 5 trees, 10 trees. Right. Here's all the fuel we saved. Companies are a lot more tuned into sustainability now. And some of that is driven by the fact that we saw a huge kind of enforced reduction in carbon emissions across the world over the last 18 months. And people want to keep that going. Then it raises some other questions. I mean, if you think of it, if you've got a fleet of 50, 100, 200 vehicles, it's kind of difficult to plug them all in overnight and charge them in the depot, right? So people are trying to figure out, well, maybe a better way would be for the drivers to charge them at home. And how do we account for that? Obviously, we don't want our drivers out of pocket. So we're working with some of our customers on how we think through that problem. And another knock-on effect of that, if you think of it, is now the drivers don't need to go to the depot. So they're operating from home and going straight out. So how do you get them their jobs? And we have solutions for job dispatch that allows us to solve that problem with it. So electric vehicle is one part, but it has a lot of elements to it. We see that real interest in that, and we'll see a lot of growth in that over the next 12 months. I mentioned the drivers there. Another effect of the pandemic, and it was happening before the pandemic, is a shortage of drivers. And so you have to ensure that your products and services now really have the drivers in mind. And we do a lot of that. Our user experience team spend a lot of time talking to drivers, ensuring that anything that we're doing that's going in the cab or in their hands is not distracting them, is actually helping them. And they are a very, very important cohort in how we design things. And not a lot of people, I think, put that driver at the center of a lot of their decision making. Speaking of things in the cab, you mentioned video, and that's another one that will continue to evolve as we go through 2022. You'll see from us a lot more on the driver coaching side, where the coaching is happening in the vehicle, and it's happening before there's an issue, because there's really little point in us being able to tell you when an accident has happened. You're going to get a lot of information on an accident happening. What we really want to do is reduce the likelihood of accidents. And so those who use our video product, who have it and actually use it, see a reduction in near misses by 30%. And a reduction in near misses is a prelude to a reduction in crashes, and a reduction in crashes is a prelude to a reduction in fatalities. And even obviously fatalities are an awful thing to happen. Crashes without fatalities are still an awful thing to happen, but that kind of dangerous driving is that's your reputation out there.
Right.
For fleets of vehicles, the customers and the general public don't get to meet the CEO. They don't get to meet the head of sales.
Right.
Those who are operating the vehicles are the company, and so your reputation is at stake. And so and there's all kinds of money savings when you're driving safer. The drivers are safer. We've had cases where video footage has exonerated drivers because it was a third party who was, trying to manufacture a situation where the driver of our customers was at fault, and that just wasn't the case. And we've got some great case studies in that. So you'll see that evolve rapidly through 2022 as well.
Right. Well, and not just the fleet reputation, but we've seen some of these big verdicts that, they like to call them the nuclear verdicts against trucking companies. And oftentimes, whether they were kind of seemingly objectively in the wrong or not, you get a lot of juries in there. And, fleets unfairly can be the big bad truck on the road when they're professional drivers. They know what they're doing. They do it all day, every day. What's interesting to me on your driver centric view here, and correct me if I'm wrong too, but it seems like the adoption of video is faster than a lot of other maybe historic truck technologies, which had seen driver pushback, right? We had like automated transmissions, driver pushback, then those took off. Some of the ADAS stuff that initially driver pushback, now this is taking off. But it seems like video, which, I know early days, 3 years ago or so, there was a lot of driver pushback, lots of comments of Big Brother. But in the past year or two, it just seems, to your point, that they really do see the value of they're the professionals. They see the value of having it on the vehicles because it can help them more than hurt them, it seems like.
That's true. I mean, what you have to remember is the vast, vast, vast majority of people who operate commercial vehicles are good drivers and really cherish their profession. They are professionals. And so having something that underlines and highlights how good they are is important. Having something that helps them maintain that. I mean, if you're out driving 8, 9, 10 hours a day, or you're driving long ranges, you, like anything else, you need something to keep you coaching. You didn't just learn it 10 years ago and then you never have to relearn, or you never have to fine tune. And so it helps actually underline and improve the vast majority of those good drivers. And of course, it highlights the bad ones who give the other ones a bad rep. And you made a great point there. There's the reputational damage, but there are big claims out there that even if you win, the amount of time and effort it takes for a company to go defend themselves, really they should be able to focus on the business at hand, which is taking care of their own customers, and integrating intelligent video allows them to do that.
Right, for sure. And I know you teased some in-cab training there. That'll be cool to see how that rolls out, because not only from the driver training and the impact, the positive impact it could have there, but even just from the personal standpoint of interacting with the device in the cab, or hearing it from the device rather than your manager calling in, beating you up on some of these notifications that you're getting. If you're getting it right there and it's from not your boss that you're reported to, but a device that's telling you something, it'll be interesting to see how that shakes out here, and how people react to the technology. It's always cool for me to see that.
Yeah, and remember, I mean, you made a good point, right? Initially, people thought, okay, spy in the cab. People increasingly see it's an advocate in the cab. But remember, people initially were against safety belts in vehicles, right? It's hard to imagine that now. But when that was first suggested, it was oh my God, that can't happen. And of course, now everyone sees the benefit of safety belts in vehicles.
Right. For sure. Very cool. Peter, always great to catch up with you. I appreciate you taking the time. I'm sure we'll talk to you again very soon.
Excellent. Pleasure is all mine.